Get ready, everyone, and you just might survive. Ruben and Jason are here with their X-Men deep dive. Going through all the X-books is their mission, so get ready for the learned edition. Things are getting weird in here. Ruben hopes another sword book gets announced this year.
Ruben.
It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow, except your mind. It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow.
How dare
except
you.
your mind.
Welcome all you weirdos, clones about to melt into goo, and everyone hoping Glob Herman gets the centerfold in the upcoming Marvel Swimsuit Special. It is time to receive your 145th Weird Dose of X, the mutant member of your Weird Science podcast family. I am your chocolate-enhanced host, Jason, broadcasting as always from the Wrong Turn Studio, perched high atop stately Weird Science Tower. And with me is a man who enjoyed Exceptional X-Men this week, but thought there just weren't enough Dazzler lyrics in it. It's my pal Ruben. Hey Ruben, how the heck are you today?
Yeah, I do have some life that happened to me the last few weeks. Well, last few days, which I will share, so you can give me sympathy, or or tell me I'm a terrible person.
Maybe a little of both, a little column A, a little column B.
Yeah, so you can probably tell I'm a little sick. I've been sick for about a week. Nothing serious, just a cough I can't shake. And so I was feeling pretty crappy. So on Thursday, I took my kids to the park. They can entertain themselves. I'm dealing with like the Dayquil, malaise, not really wanting to do much of anything. So
Right.
they'll entertain
kind
themselves.
Kind of foggy-headed when you take that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no problem. They can entertain themselves at the park. And my older daughter, she's 7, and she picks up this big branch that looks kind of like a walking stick. It's very straight and about the size of a walking stick.
Sure. Kids love sticks.
Yep. So she's hitting trees with it. She starts swinging it near the little kid, and I'm just like sitting on the park bench watching this whole thing, and I'm like, this is going to end in a terrible tragedy, isn't it?
Foreshadowing, I hear, yeah.
Excuse me. Edit that out, Jim. But it does not end the way that you imagine. She did not whack the 4-year-old with it. Instead,
No one's called Cyclops going forward? None of that?
Nobody's called Cyclops, but
okay,
for
good.
some reason, she's just walking like and using it like a Gandalf stick, and she just like face plants in the grass for no reason. And total freak accident, like lands perfectly so that she like breaks her arm.
Oh, no.
And she broke both the bones in her forearm.
Oof.
And dad of the year over here, I'm like, because it looked like nothing. I was like, this cannot be a major
kids
injury.
fall 13 times a day. It happens.
Yeah. So she's like, I think I broke my arm. I'm like, no, you're fine.
Rub some dirt on it, yeah.
And she had a long sleeve shirt on, so I couldn't really tell, right? But she's still complaining about it for about maybe 15 minutes. Finally, I'm like, okay, we're going home. I get the younger daughter off the playground equipment. She's like telling me how she's pissed that we're leaving early.
Sure.
And I'm like, we got to go home. So we finally get home. Poor older daughter. She goes on the couch. My wife was also like not having it. She's like, Mom, I think I broke my arm. My wife's like, you're fine. No biggie.
Yeah, parents
Finally,
know kids complain about stuff all the time, and 99% of the time it is absolutely nothing.
Yeah, so finally I'm like, okay, let's take a look at this, right? I'm like, it's gonna be a scrape or scab or something. Her arm is like bent.
Oh,
like the most horrifying thing I've ever seen. I'm like, okay,
like there's a joint where a joint shouldn't be.
It was it was like a U-shaped forearm basically.
Oh.
It was pretty ugly. So I have so much guilt. Like I felt so bad. So yeah, I spent most of Thursday night at the ER, and apparently it was a very clean break, which is the good thing, and it's all casted up, and she's doing better now. But
good.
I can't believe I put her through that for 30 minutes. Just major jerk move on my part.
I understand that feeling, but 30 minutes is just 30 minutes, and everything worked out fine apparently. So yeah, this will be soon enough. It'll be a funny story. Maybe not quite yet, but soon enough it will be.
That's what happens. It's like a very much a, Peter and the Wolf moment, right? Because she's always like smallest scraper. She's always like, oh, I broke this, I broke that. We're like, no, you didn't.
Mm-hmm. That's a kid thing. And yeah, fortunately, none of my kids ever broke a bone. But yeah, they fall down all the time, and it's usually pretty much nothing. bad luck. I hope the poor kid feels better. Hope she has is at least like a cool color on the cast. Do they do anything neat these days?
Yeah, she got like a neon green cast.
That's something. Okay.
Don't let your kids play with sticks. That's my moral.
An anti-stick crusader. Okay.
Yeah. And if you're sick, you don't get to shirk on being a parent. It's like totally one of those things where I knew it was a bad thing, but did not intervene. And this is now the next 6 weeks are going to be dealing with a broken arm.
Oh, bother.
Recovery.
Well, what we have to deal with today for at least the next hour or so are just a few X-Men comic books. Did you like that transition, Ruben? I didn't know how I was going to do the transition from kid broken arm to comic books, but I think I pulled it off. We don't have an Infinity comic to talk about today, as we kind of expected. It's taken a week off between arcs. Expect it'll be back once again next Monday. What we do have are Exceptional X-Men number 8, with lots and lots of Dazzler lyrics in it. We have X Factor number 9, which is the penultimate issue of that title because that thing got canned. And we have Wolverine number 8 / Legacy number 400. But first, we do have a couple of brief news items today that I'm scrolling through. I don't think there's any broken bones involved in these items. The first one broke. Sorry, poor choice of words. The first one hit the news cycle shortly after we finished recording last week, which seems like it always happens. And this is that, Ruben, for some reason, somehow, we are getting another Hellfire Gala special. I guess that is where the money's coming in these days, more in the Marvel Rivals and is Snap the other one, the card game type one?
Snap, yeah. That's the one I'm playing. But, I kind of like, I don't know why. I guess maybe just it's an alternate design for characters and people like it, but it shows up everywhere. So I was like, they can't have just given up on it.
Yep, Marvel clearly sees an opportunity here to bring a few more bucks out of people, and probably more for, selling these skins or how it works in the video games. I don't really play those things.
I'm just curious if they're going to use it the same way they did before, because it felt like the first year they didn't really know what they were doing with it, and then after that it was sort of a framing issue for like the next year of events. I'm wondering if it's going to be, is this going to be back to just kind of like, oh, we'll do one more just for cash grab, or if it's intended to establish kind of some new stories.
Well, editor Tom Brevoort says, and by this way, this is going to be released on July 2nd. It's going to be called X-Men: Hellfire Vigil number 1. So it's not so much a big, happy, fancy party, almost like a memorial to, the lost Krakoa sort of a thing. It is going to be a giant-sized one-shot, and it's going to be written and drawn by basically all the current writers and artists listed on this, including writers whose books have recently been canceled. So like Jeff Thorne, Lanzing Kelly, Declan Shalvey's going to draw a couple pages here. All the names we always see over and over again. But editor Tom Brevoort says, if you've been wondering when somebody was going to encounter somebody else, the answer is right here in this book. It's a capstone to events that began in From the Ashes and sets up major movements that will be playing out across the coming months. So at least maybe, well, we know was actually the next news story was going to be about Revelation, our good friend Doug.
Taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck.
And I don't know if that'll come up in this one, but maybe. But yeah, so
who else do you think might be meeting that we've been expecting to show up?
Boy, maybe some crossover. It's got to be some more crossover between the new characters, right? Like the new kids in Uncanny, the Outliers. Maybe meeting some of the new characters from regular X-Men. I don't know. Are we finally going to get Wolverine's? We know Wolverine's next story arc still is going to be before Uncanny, so it's really, the books don't really feel like they're going anywhere. So I can't say, oh boy, this must be where that next thing happens, because the two crossover events we've had so far have kind of flopped, and both have kind of been undercut by, oh, we have a Hickman thing coming up. So trying to get excited about something here in the X-Men books, but kind of difficult these days. And that next story I have is going to be about our buddy, Doug Ramsey, Revelation, a.k.a. Doug Apocalypse.
Taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck.
We kind of knew that he was coming up in Jed MacKay's X-Men. Now we know officially from the previews that this is going to happen in X-Men number 19, also scheduled to release on July 2nd, so I guess that's a big date coming up. Cover of that shows Doug, Doug's best self-friend forever Warlock, and Doug's long-suffering better half, Bay the Blood Moon. Have you seen this cover yet, Ruben?
No. That's interesting that Bay's showing up in it. What's she doing? Is she with him? I wonder.
right now it's just the three characters kind of side by side. And visually, this is drawn by Ryan Stegman, who's the main interior artist on the series. So you'd think that the cover might have a little more weight for reality than usual. And this version of Revelation Dougpocalypse looks way, way less like Egyptianized or apocalypsized than when we saw that last panel that gets passed around a lot. So he looks much more like regular Doug, just kind of trying to look a little more tough. And, Marvel has tried to make Doug Ramsey be a tough guy several different ways, several different times. Never really takes. This probably isn't going to take either, but that will be coming up on July 2nd. And, well, that's about all I have for news. Rob Liefeld did just put out a tweet saying that, boy, everybody he talks to says that the X-Men office is a train wreck. Yeah, here it is. I can't make folks go on the record. This is like 30 minutes ago as we speak. But I can tell you, based on my DMs, that comic book professionals en masse agree about the train wreck the X-Men office is. Sad. Was once the gold standard of comic book storytelling. Now, Rob Liefeld has his own style of writing and drawing comics, and, I've said before, like, his flavor of ice cream isn't my favorite flavor of ice cream. He's kind of got a point, right? There are some pockets of interesting things going on in Jed McKay's X-Men. That new historical arc and Uncanny has some interesting ideas, but it does feel like no one's really steering the ship. The event didn't feel coherent. We don't know, is the line itself going anywhere particular? Just kind of going in circles. So I can't say that Rob Liefeld is wrong about all this. Although I don't think that, like, if he ran the X office, I don't think that would be like my dream era of X books either. It's just not the kind of books I like to read. But he would have a vision, right? If he were running things, and I'm not saying there's ever a chance of that happening, it would have like a coherence to the line that this line doesn't have right now. Well, that is all the news that we had. So let's go on to our first book, which is Exceptional X-Men number 8. And yeah, Jim has not put the ding sound back on the soundboard, so we're going with a bing bong. This is Exceptional X-Men number 8, as I said, written by Eve L. Ewing, art by Carmen Carnero, colors by Nolan Woodard, letters by Travis Lanham. So, Ruben, when we left off at the end of issue 7, Alex had just found out what the rest of us knew all along, because we read comic books, that his new boss and personal hero, Sheldon Xenos, founder and CEO of Verite, is none other than, surprise, Nathaniel Essex, Mr. Sinister. And Mr. Sinister uses the first, I counted them, Ruben, the first 7 pages of this comic to deliver a monologue explaining what he's been up to, as if we didn't pretty much figure it out. Is the idea here that he's allowing himself to be affected by Alex's empathy power, and that's why he's kind of running on at the mouth? I think maybe that's what's going on. Is that what you got from here?
Well, there's a part where he talks about how he had to sample the power before he deployed it to evil or something. Yeah. But I was like, when did that happen? I really didn't understand that comment. So if that's what's going on, I guess that makes more sense.
That's what I put together in like the second or third read, is maybe that's what's going on here. So, yeah, if he's got the empathy running through him and he's spilling all his deepest, darkest secrets to Alex, turns out that Mr. Sinister ain't that deep, right? He just wants to use Alex to power his latest evil scientist device. And also, Mr. Sinister sings Dazzler lyrics. And that kind of offends me, right? Because I would have thought that Nathaniel Essex, for all his flamboyance, would have maybe better taste than that, right? Maybe some old school disco he'd go with, but Dazzler? I don't know. And yeah, there's a lot of Dazzler in this book. So I wonder why Eve Ewing, was there like, did she lose a bet? Because she has Mr. Sinister quoting Dazzler. We have Kitty in the shower singing Dazzler. And we have a fake Alex clone we'll get to, also kind of being interested in Dazzler coming from a car radio going by. So more Dazzler than I needed ever again.
I would appreciate if the writers stopped trying to force Dazzler as a thing, because it's just annoying.
It feels like maybe it's an inside joke in like their internal Slack chat or whatever they use that is leaking out into the real world, and it maybe is a funny inside joke for them, but not so much for me. Back to the evil science device. Sinister says that foolish mutants have freely given Verite access to all sorts of genetic data from around the globe, which, again, I think this is a pretty decent metaphor for the personal information we give to tech companies in the real world. it's not leaned into too heavy. I think it's done pretty well. Sinister says that by combining this genetic data with Alex's, quote, little boo-hoo, mopey, woe-is-me mutant mind, interpolates their behavior to create epigenetic portraits more complex than anything I've ever built. So in short, genes plus empathy powers plus hand-waving give Sinister access to, like, mutant souls. Maybe, I guess, kind of. It doesn't seem like Sinister's neatest plan, right? We think back of the plans he had, for Hellions back in Krakoa, or the stuff that Kieran Gillen did with him. This feels like a really kind of basic, not incredibly detailed, well sketched out plan for Mr. Sinister. What do you think he's going to be doing with this? What is his end game? Any idea?
That's what I was hoping to discover, and I did not see it in this at all.
No, I think he's just going to be foiled before we ever find out what the real plan was. I think, at least the details.
He's gonna get some power. That's what it is.
I guess
arbitrary power. I really don't know. It's bizarre. Like, maybe he's just manipulating stuff to manipulate stuff because he's interested in it. I mean, that's sort of what we get, right? He talks about how he's fascinated about what makes up the soul. So it's just generic science experiment. He's gonna write a really good paper on it, research paper.
I suppose. I mean, he likes genetic stuff for sure, but he's not really a knowledge for knowledge's sake kind of character, right? He usually has a particular thing he's trying to accomplish, and I just wish it was a little more specific.
It's this is a really watered down version of Nathaniel Essex. I was not very happy to see it. And especially having just gone through all that stuff with, what was that AI thing that he was battling for a while?
AI, you mean the big bad AIs in Krakoa or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whatever that thing was called. I can't even remember it now.
All the AIs were basically trying to take over the world and against the biological people.
But
this does feel like a very it's just a super basic idea of what Mr. Sinister has been.
Yeah. I mean, the whole big fight, right? And then at the end of the day, like, he just kind of slinks off, and now he's just back, like, running a tech company, collecting DNA for no real reason. Just kind of feels like maybe this is not the right way to bring him back.
I did like the one line that Ewing gives Sinister about how he's kind of interested in those adult onset mutants, right? A little continuity there with Jed McKay's X-Men. Again, I appreciate that, but a one throwaway line is nice, but it doesn't really redeem a basic Mr. Sinister. And Ruben, if Alex here is going to be spending his days attached to Mr. Sinister's computer in the underground lair, won't his friends and family notice he's missing? No problem, because, Ruben, Mr. Sinister is a known master of the art of cloning, so he just sends an Alex clone out to play the part of the real Alex. Which raises some questions in my head here. Because if Mr. Sinister can clone Alex, and we know in the past he's made lots of clones that have mixed and matched mutant abilities, why doesn't he just make a clone that has this ability he needs, and then he doesn't need to keep Alex down here at all? And also, he's Mr. Sinister. He is the best cloning guy in the entire world. So why is the Alex clone he sends out into the real world so incredibly shitty?
Yeah, that's the one that drives me insane.
It's so bad, Ruben. It's not good.
He made freaking Madeline Pryor, right? Like, there are plenty of clones he's made that are like complete human beings with coherent, not eating whatever the hell that thing is eating.
Yeah, so this Alex clone dumps orange juice and coffee grounds on his food. He eats a stick of deodorant.
Oh, that's what that was. Yeah, that makes sense. I was like, what the hell is he eating?
That's what I got out of that.
Yeah.
He ignores his friends. His skin doesn't cycle through the colors the way that Alex's skin changes color. And yeah, Mr. Sinister should be way, way better at this. So what's that last bit, the lack of color changing, that gives the clone away? Thao, Trista, and clone Alex, the three new exceptional X-Men, they're shopping at a thrift store when a fire breaks out. This is kind of our quasi-action scene for this book. We don't have any fights really going on. Trista and Thao use their mutant powers to help customers get out safely. That's pretty well done. Alex doesn't react at all. Trista pulls Thao aside and said, hey, that ain't Alex. He's not changing color. He didn't realize that one guy in the store was about to have an emotional freakout, and worst of all, in an earlier panel, quote, he was openly enjoying a Dazzler song, unironically in public. Which, I think that last one is fair, because Ruben, if you ever see me doing that in public, I've been cloned. Call the science police. Something bad has happened. So the girls call Kitty for advice. no answer. She's in the shower singing Dazzler lyrics.
Mhm.
They want to call Emma. This was kind of funny. Emma has never given them a phone number. When Emma wants to talk to the kids, she just sends out a psychic phone call herself. I think that's a good characterization of Emma. Don't call me, I'll call you, kind of a thing. So the girls are on their own. They go out, I guess, to confront the fake Alex, except this whole, oh, we figured it out moment is completely unnecessary because while they were away figuring it out, the fake clone has been so shitty that it melted down into a pile of goo. It just dissolved, like an old cell phone, that rubberized coating that turns back into oil. So, worst clone ever.
He must have done this intentionally.
You think? I mean, I hope so. That would be. But why would he? What would it gain him? Do you think he wants to get rid of his Sheldon Xenos persona? I think it would still be useful to him. I would think he would still want to stay undercover. We haven't seen any hints that he wants to, come out, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, maybe the real Sinister will show up, and this is just a bad clone of him ineffectively doing things.
I mean,
That's
that would be. I don't expect that to happen, but we know there have been multiple Sinisters running around. Right, the very, very beginning of Krakoa, we saw wherever they were, they had all those different versions. If that came back, that could be fun, but I don't think that's where E-Viewing is going. Have to wait and see.
I missed the one from Krakoa, though. Such a better character.
He was good. So that's pretty much the whole issue. There is one more Sinister monologue where he talks about each Krakoan resurrection having left a small, nearly imperceptible trace in the resurrected mutant's DNA. Maybe that'll matter going forward. Maybe connected to Magneto's little problems. I don't know. So overall, yeah, I thought this was a pretty bad issue. Sinister monologue went on and on for a third of the issue for no good reason. I thought the art accompanying the monologue was all right. Right, Carnero draws a good Mr. Sinister. The technology was pretty cool. The dramatic lighting made the pages pretty to look at. Way too much of it. But yeah, incompetent Mr. Sinister is not a fun Mr. Sinister to read on the page. Sure, he has character flaws, absolutely, and those character flaws are always what trips him up, but incompetence is not the character flaw that we associate with Mr. Sinister, right? He should be able to make a clone that has a longer shelf life than a quart of milk. Doesn't work.
And not easily detectable clone. I mean, that's the whole point.
For sure. So, I'm going to wrap this up and give Exceptional X-Men number 8 a 5.5 out of 10. We're so happy to see that we're finally getting a real villain in this book, but it's a bummer that villain has been just nerfed so very, very badly. How about you, Ruben?
I wanted to be the negative Nancy. I'm going to go to 5.8, but I think we have the same feeling about it. It's just not a good story.
Yeah, which is too bad. We were hoping, we had hope when this opened. We saw that Mr. Sinister shadow on a cover and said, "Oh boy, this could get good." And yeah, it just hasn't. So this book still needs to come into form. Another book that doesn't really have that much time to come back into form because we are nearly over with it is X Factor number 9.
Number 9.
Legacy number 301, Lost Causes. Written by Mark Russell, art by Bob Quinn, colors by Jesus Abertov, letters by Joe Caramagna. It is time to start wrapping up this volume, and we do so with a story that's once again way tied into One World Under Doom, which most of the other X books are just completely ignoring that's going on at all. But for some reason, X Factor is all over it. So a few issues ago, X Factor was supposed to work together with a group of Chechens called Black Wolf to destroy the Paperclip AI, prevent it from falling into the hands of Dr. Doom. Paperclip being the AI/mind control device that ran Gigosha, and what's Ethan Farthing, I think, is the guy who invented it, really being painted as your Elon Musk kind of character here, kind of sucking up to Dr. Doom. You guys can make your own political parallels. I think we know where Mark Russell is going here. Instead of destroying it, the Chechens stole Paperclip, plan on selling it to Doom or trading it to him for, favors and fortune. General Mills, who runs X Factor, she doesn't want that to happen. So she convinces Havoc and Frenzy, who, remember, aren't on the team anymore, they quit. She convinces the two of them to go on a mission to prevent that from happening. At the same time, the official X Factor will be publicly known to be elsewhere, just to make it clear that whatever goes right or wrong here, it wasn't an X Factor. And I do like that she doesn't try to blackmail Havoc here. She doesn't really have anything over him. She just appeals to him not wanting Dr. Doom to mind control the whole world. Pretty good argument. He agrees. So the two teams set out in opposite directions, the real team and this covert fake team. And Havoc and Frenzy are supposed to be just the two of them on this mission, but after they leave, they notice several other passengers on their jet. And the way it's written, it's supposed to be funny, but I don't know how they could have not noticed these people sitting right behind them.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe the joke could have been set up a little better, maybe a door between the pilot section and the passengers. I don't know. So these extra passengers are Cecilia Reyes, who I keep forgetting she's even in this book because she doesn't really do much, right? She had a boyfriend who died, and that's been her character. That's it. We also have Zyber, who was set up to kind of be the main character of this book, it seemed, at least the one to get a character arc. And we have Granny Smite. Dr. Reyes and Zyber are here on purpose. Unclear if they have permission from the higher-ups to be here or not. Granny Smite says that she just wandered onto the wrong plane. And Ruben, I've read some people online saying that they think that this is Granny Smite just kidding, making a joke, that she's also here on purpose, but in the artwork, she looks legitimately surprised to find herself in the situation. So unless she's an amazing actress, I'm going to say that she actually made a mistake.
Yeah.
So when they get to the Chechen's base, Granny Smite, it's great that she's there because she provides a fantastic diversion, right? Jogs right up to the front gate, survives a huge barrage of rockets and gunfire. We do see that she is physically unhurt by any of this, which I guess tells us a little more about how her vague power works. It's not just that she doesn't die, she's invulnerable. So meanwhile, the other three bust in through the back wall, with Havoc using his plasma powers to break their way in. And I think it's important here to realize that his plasma power is very strong, a very thick stone brick wall here, because his powers kind of just get forgotten about in a second. Because they get to where Paperclip is being kept, and we're told it's in some kind of a protective case that would take, quote, hours to drill through. Why would they drill through it? It's Havoc. He just busted through a stone wall. He doesn't even try his plasma on this thing. I don't get it. Other than it's here because we need to have Zyber to finish his character arc.
Yes.
Right? That's why he doesn't try.
100% the reason is here. There's no real good reason for it.
Give me one word balloon saying, oh, this is made of something that's impervious to plasma. Just give me a nod that, yeah, we realize he should try it, but give me a reason why it wouldn't work. Because Zyber has been scared to death to do his EMP pulse thing because it hurts, and he's afraid that it will one day kill him. Havoc talks him into doing it anyway. He does it. The EMP fries Paperclip, mission accomplished, give or take a bit more fighting with the Chechens, and now they need to capture them because they've seen and recognized X Factor's here, that no one can know about X Factor here, so we've got to bring him into prison. Now, Zyber, following the EMP, was unconscious for a bit, but seems okay now. Cecilia Reyes, certified medical doctor, declares him officially, quote, alive, so that's good. Granny Smite has a surprisingly, I actually kind of like this conversation that she has with him about, what she's lost in her family, even though she can't die, versus his fear of death. Really the first time that she's been an actual character, not just a walking punchline. So that was actually kind of okay.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but I feel like the last issue is going to have Granny Smythe giving up her life to save Zyber's life somehow. Put it down on paper. That's my prediction.
That I had a question about that here at the end, so I was going to say, do you think that Granny Smythe is going to live or die? And you think that she's going to do the hero sacrifice?
Heroic sacrifice, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy, edit this out because I lost my place. Bing bong, bing bong.
Shouldn't they just send her to go after Doom? She's so unstoppable.
That would be. I mean, maybe that will be the big end game of the One World Under Doom. It'll be Granny Smite saving the day for humanity.
Nobody that's reading this is going to be like, who the hell is that?
That would be great, like Avengers fans going. I mean, I think even probably a lot of X-Men fans aren't necessarily keeping up with X Factor, so that would be funny. So yeah, this part of the story is about to wrap up when one of those Chechens, don't remember his name, doesn't really matter. He's the guy who he gives off poison gases and wears a helmet to keep them in. He points out to Havoc that General Mills is probably just playing with you, buddy. She wants you, Havoc, out of the way for whatever the rest of X Factor is doing right now. Havoc figures out this is probably bad news for Polaris and the rest of the Mutant Underground, but he cares mostly about Polaris. And Poison Guy decides that, instead of going to prison, I'd rather we all die here in this plane together. So he smashes his helmet against the seat, releases the poison, presumably this will result in a plane crash is the plan, but we'll find the rest of that out next issue. I'm going to guess that Havoc doesn't die. I don't think they'd let Mark Russell kill him off right now, but yeah, maybe this you think is where Granny Smite does something to save everyone and die in the process? Could be. That's next issue. In this issue, we cut away to the country of Colombia, where the rest of X-Factor is on their other mission. This rest of X-Factor being just Angel and Pyro, plus some guy in the back that neither of them remember ever having met before. Yeah, it's the one joke with Forget-Me-Not. That's it. Angel is prepared to do the rest of this mission solo, that mission being to capture Polaris. Helpfully, his new X-Factor-aided Archangel wings are made from non-ferrous metal, negating her power over them. And Mark Russell's kind of lesson here seems to be that the mutants should have maintained solidarity, stuck together against those darn flat scans, but instead have allowed themselves to be manipulated by humans and have actively sold out to those humans, often for kind of cheap. So, one more issue and X-Factor wraps up. It wasn't a great issue, but it did have a coherent plot, couple of okay character moments, moderately surprising twist with the Chechen saying, hey, what do you think the rest of X-Factor is up to? Because I had forgotten about them. And a pretty effective cliffhanger with that plane maybe going to crash. So that kind of puts it for me a step above the other comics we're talking about this week. There was even a pretty decent Mark Russell line. Early on, General Mills, when she's convincing Havoc, she says to him, hey, I want to keep this mission off the books. And he says, the best way to keep something off the books is to not do it.
Yeah, I did.
Pretty good line. That was all right. So I'm going to give X-Factor number 9.
Number 9?
I'll call it a 6.8 out of 10. Highest I've given this title, I think, since a hopeful, maybe naive 7.5 I gave to issue number 1. So not fantastic, not a great book, but it had some okay things to it. And you know what it didn't have, Ruben? What did this book lack completely for the second issue in a row?
No Power Dog, thankfully.
No corn dog jokes.
Yeah, so I have to up my score for that.
So those were the two things I was going to ask you to predict for next issue. The final issue is Granny Smite going to live or die, and you're choosing die. And will there be a corn dog, power dog punchline? Will it wrap up? You think so?
Yes, he's going to have to do one.
I would think so.
I don't think he can
right?
resist. He's going to hit like all the story beats, right?
He's dropped it 2 issues in a row, though, so maybe he's forgotten about it. Maybe in the rush to complete this series when it got canceled, but he'll probably sneak it in. I think you're. I'm going to agree with you on the corn dogs, but I'm going to say that Granny Smite lives. We'll have to wait and see. Well, that is X Factor number 9.
I'm going to give my score. I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Right. 6.5. Okay. Again, about the same. It was all right. Nothing horrible, but yeah, I don't think either of us are really too upset that this book is ending at issue 10.
And in my heart, it's probably just a 6, but I bumped it up a little bit for what you said. The lack of corn dogs was appreciated, and I need to be able to put Wolverine under it because I thought that was kind of a garbage story too. Little
foreshadowing there. So let's get to that.
Bing bong.
This last issue we're talking about is Wolverine number 8, also known as Legacy number 400. So, Ruben, there are 3 stories in this 60-page anniversary issue. The first 2 share the same creative team, which is the typical creative team for this volume. Those stories being called Adamantine Unleashed and This Is Your Life, and the writer being Saladin Ahmed, art by Martin Kokolo, colors by Brian Valenza, letters by Corey Pettit. The last story is called Onvyo. Writer and artist on that is Daniel Warren Johnson, who, I don't know if you know this, Ruben, Daniel Warren Johnson and Philip Kennedy Johnson, 2 entirely different people. This is a thing, I have a problem with it. They live in the same brain cell in my head. Just not only this, they both have the same last name, but just the rhythm. Daniel Warren Johnson, Philip Kennedy Johnson. It feels like they should be the same person. But this is Daniel Warren Johnson.
I read enough of his Transformers comics to recognize who it was.
He's also a writer/artist, where Philip Kennedy is just a writer. So he definitely has a very distinctive art style. So that should help. Colors on that one are by Brian Valenza, letters by Corey Pettit. So this book has kind of an odd structure, even for an anniversary. Each of the first 2 Saladin Ahmed stories wraps up a big part of the current storyline, and each kind of feels like it was intended to be its own issue. Didn't you get that feeling to it? I wonder if that was at one point going to be the plan, or if this was always going to be all for the anniversary. And the Daniel Warren Johnson story, more of a typical backup standalone story out of Logan's past. So let's start with that first story, Adamantine Unleashed. This picks up where we left off last issue. Logan facing an adamantine-coated Romulus. And unlike the other adamantium-related characters, Romulus is not just a robot doing the adamantine's wishes. They're partners. It's kind of a symbiote kind of thing. Although it's really not clear to me why the adamantine needs Romulus at all. That's really my hang-up here. This fight goes on for a bit. Logan gets beat up pretty badly, as is tradition. Why have a character with a healing factor if you don't beat him up all the time? And then Logan wins the fight only because Romulus, who is supposed to be an ages-old military genius, does something completely stupid. Opens his mouth wide, and the inside of his mouth is the only part of him not coated by adamantine. It's like the Achilles' heel story from the Iliad. Only part of him not protected. Logan stabs him through the mouth. Pretty gross. Blood just gushes out everywhere. Is Romulus supposed to be dead here? He kind of collapses to the ground. Do you think Romulus is dead, or is he just kind of...
Well, they talk about the adamantine taking his body away at the end.
They mention that, but it doesn't... We don't see that on the page.
No.
He's there, and then he's kind of not there, because the adamantine leaves Romulus's body, forms into a floating golden ball, then forms into a crazy suit of armor. And again, I think we've talked about this before. It's like the video game trope where you think you defeat the boss, but then he gets a whole new health bar and is even more powerful. Why did adamantine need Romulus at all? Because he's fighting better now. And this adamantine bashes Logan on the face with a shield, says, oh, hey, Logan, maybe I should have chosen you as my champion. And then the adamantine just leaves. It's not defeated by Logan. It doesn't do anything. It just says, well, I guess I'm going to go now. And which is a really anticlimactic way to end this whole arc. It just kind of goes, whatever, see you next time.
I thought the character design for it, too, was pretty lame. When it finally forms into it's like a Hermes god character with armor. Yeah. That's not the best character design for, some new badass villain.
Yeah, it's only there for one panel, too, I think. One or two panels, so I'm not sure if it's supposed to mean anything or just... Solid Ahmed just told the artist, draw him looking like a cool warrior, because he has to look cool and hit Logan in the face and then leaves. And maybe takes Romulus with him, maybe doesn't. I don't know. It felt almost like that little thing was put into the dialogue at the end when someone realized, we got to say something about Romulus.
Does he have a healing factor?
Yeah.
Romulus? Okay.
Yeah, he has a lot of Wolverine's powers. He didn't have the adamantine for a while, or the adamantium that he had that added. He didn't have Logan's claws for a while. He was just wearing gloves with the claws on them, but I think now those have been added to him for real. So he's basically supposed to be like an older, stronger Wolverine.
Yeah, so
and
that's
it's definitely left wide open for any future writer to either say, he's dead, or to bring him back.
When I observed this, I was like, okay, yeah, I got some claws through the mouth and presumably brain, but how does that defeat him if he's got a healing factor?
Don't know.
Wouldn't he just go down and then recover? That's sort of what I assumed would have happened. But
you'd think.
But they were like, nope, he's defeated.
Yeah, so the adamantine leaves Romulus's body behind, but then, when Logan climbs out of the pit, he just tells her, the adamantine took Romulus with it. That's the only time it's mentioned. And we also get a retconny feeling narration box here. It says that, last issue, it seemed like Logan and Romulus were falling way, way, way down deep into the earth. Here it says, actually wasn't really that far. Some mental thing from the magic metal confused me. And I don't even know why it has to be there. Why bother mentioning that? Just to make it so that Logan could climb out? Just say it took him a while to climb out. I don't know why they had to kind of undo something that happened just last issue.
Yeah.
So Logan and Laura meet Nightcrawler and Kid Wendigo back outside. They fly home. This story is over. So I guess we're done with adamantine? It feels like, again, really anticlimactic. Felt like it was a big lead up that didn't kind of go anywhere. Are you of the same mindset there on the adamantine?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Wolverine fan in general, so I'm probably not the best judge of it, but I felt like this was spun up to be a bigger story, and this turned out to be sort of a nothing burger in my mind.
Yeah, all the previews kept saying, this is a key issue, this is a key issue, this is going to be a collector's item, this is the one that changes Wolverine forever, and it didn't. The next story is called This Is Your Life, has the same creative team, and it's an arcade story. It's a very, very basic arcade story. Takes place sometime just a couple days after the first story ended. And really the point of this one is to have a way for Kid Wendigo to exit the book. That's what's going on here.
Yep.
We learn that off-panel between stories, Arcade managed to drug and kidnap both Logan and Kid Wendigo. Logan wakes up in a bare, dank cell, and his first thought is to worry about Leonard, the Wendigo kid, which is kind of strange. I know he's concerned for him, but that's like the very, very first thing that tells us in that panel right there, oh, that's what Saladin Ahmed wants us to care about in this story. We're being directed. It's all about Kid Wendigo. And the rest of that story here is a very standard Arcade death trap. Seen it a dozen times. It's what he does. He doesn't really have... Why is Arcade after Logan in particular here? How did he know about the Wendigo kid? How is he connected? What's his motivation? Because usually he has some sort of a goal here, right? So what do you think Arcade is doing here?
Being a filler character to achieve a writer's goal. Yeah,
I think
it made no sense. I was like, why is he here? And then also some of the stuff in his death trap, I just felt like, really, Arcade could do that? I don't really buy it. When he's like bringing up people from Logan's past, I was like, how well do you know this guy?
He's read all the old Origin of Wolverine comic books, apparently.
Yeah, and even getting it down to the point where they're like, oh yeah, this person smells like them. I'm like, okay, shenanigans there.
Wow,
like, there's no way. Like, okay, fine, maybe you see like an old footage of somebody and you can make a life model decoy, but like, where the hell are you getting this smell information?
So again, this is the big twist here is where Kid Wendigo ties in. So Arcade has Leonard restrained at a vibranium chair, pumping him full of hunger-inducing drugs, and poking him with pointy things, basically trying to make him go completely feral. We're told that in 5 minutes, all this work for 5 minutes, apparently, in 5 minutes the restraints will be loosed, and the presumably enraged Kid Wendigo will presumably take out his frustrations on these innocent people that Arcade has tied up in there with him. And yeah, like you say, the traps that Logan has to get through to get to Leonard are typical Wolverine greatest hits, right? A room that looks like Weapon X, where Logan was experimented on, giving his adamantium. I thought that room actually looked kind of cool. I thought visually that was the best part of this issue, or this story.
Yeah. But why the hell would Arcade know about Weapon X? This is like public knowledge. Everyone knows about Weapon X.
I don't know. That is an excellent question. Because if he had been... Often Arcade is hired by someone, right? That's really his thing. He's like a hired killer. If there was some sort of an intimation that somebody who, like Sabretooth, hires Arcade, Sabretooth knows all this stuff, that would make sense. But here it's an anniversary issue. We need to go through the greatest hits. Next, when we get to the cabin where Logan lived with Silver Fox before Sabretooth murders her to death.
Yes.
And I think Logan
This is the part that drove me insane, where he's like, it even smells like Silver Fox. I'm like, that's a weird detail.
Yeah, how would you know to get that right? That is strange. And does Logan exit this room by crawling through the fireplace? I think.
Yeah.
Because we need to get him to the end game here. The idea is we're supposed to think he's not really playing along. He's kind of busting through walls and not going through the intended path. The third and final room we see is supposed to be like poking at Logan's infatuation with Jean Grey, rival with Scott. None of that has any effect on Logan. He runs through one more wall, bursts out through another wall, Kool-Aid Man style, gets to Kid Wendigo just coincidentally as the 5 minutes runs out.
Mm-hmm.
So the two of them fight a little bit. Leonard gets control of himself, calms down, proves he's more than just an animal. But Arcade has one last trick, because we have a couple more pages to fill. A glass dome comes down over Logan, and we're told that this dome has adamantium dust in it, meaning it would take Logan a long time to bust out, and the dome is being filled with acid strong enough to reduce Logan to nothing but bones. And Ruben, what is the floor made of here? It's just a regular floor, as far as we know, right?
It's got more adamantium dust. That stuff's a dime a dozen.
I guess. Maybe it's like glitter. You get that in your carpet, and you can never get rid of it. So yeah, I don't know why they didn't have Logan just break through the floor, but seems the obvious thing to do. Instead, Kid Wendigo, first chomps Arcade on the shoulder, and then it's a teamwork thing. Logan slashing from the inside, Leonard bashing from the outside. They break through the dome when Logan has only been skeletonized up to like mid-thigh. Kid Wendigo also badly hurt by the acid rushing out of the dome. And then, Ruben, a miracle occurs. Leonard himself, back in human form, crawls out of the Wendigo skin like he's Luke Skywalker exiting a dead bantha.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
He's even still wearing like the gloves and jacket he wore to go camping. And there's no explanation for what happened here, how this undid the curse of the Wendigo. We get a narration box from Logan says that, quote, "It looks like these so-called northern gods decided the kid earned a second chance." And that is the sum total of the explanation. Logan and Leonard release the traumatized civilians. Logan takes Leonard back to his mom's house, and they have a home-cooked meal together. Logan's narration boxes remind us, as if we didn't know, that Logan has some mommy issues of his own. When Logan became all Wolverine-y the first time, Mom kicked him out of his house, and then she killed herself. Pretty rough. And this little memory is going to be important again in, about 2 pages, because the ending of this story, damn near identical to the end of Phoenix number 10, which we talked about just last week. Is anyone editing these books and saying, hey, maybe don't pull the same trick another book did a week earlier? Somebody should have pointed it out. Logan spends the night at a motel room, drinking beer and watching TV.
Yeah.
What do you think Wolverine watches on motel TV? I'm thinking either Say Yes to the Dress. Maybe that's just like his secret, he secretly likes those kind of things. Or like nature programming, like wolves running through the forest. I think he could be into that.
Remembering his pack.
Oh, yes. That pack that everyone, all wolves and people who work with him end up getting slaughtered.
Yes.
Poor pack. But there is a knock at his motel room door. Strange, since nobody should know he's there. And stranger that he's Wolverine. He didn't smell anyone there.
Yeah.
Opens the door and finds a handwritten note from his mommy. Or from someone claiming to be his mother, asking to meet with him, ending with a to be continued and setting up the next arc. And that next arc, I guess, is also taking place before Uncanny number 1.
Yeah.
We haven't caught up yet to when he's going to join that gang, so little weird.
I need to know why the mom didn't just wait there at the door. She's dropping the note off. Or do you think she paid somebody to deliver the note?
I'm going to go with the idea that it's not really mom. It's somebody messing with him. Somebody pretending to be his mother. I hope we're not really trying to retcon his backstory yet again, because Logan has been messed with backstory-wise worse than pretty much anybody. So I'm going to say it's just some villain using the mommy issues to get at him. So this story overall, I mean, we had to get Kid Wendigo out of the story somehow. He wasn't going to be a continuing part of Wolverine's cast forever. So you either cure him, you kill him off, or you abandon him in the woods. And Saladin Ahmed decided to cure him and just kind of hand waves how it happens. The arcade bit feels just like a rerun of a rerun, seen it all before. Kind of forgettable story, but it does at least set up our next arc.
Yeah.
Did you like this story any better than the first one, or they're both kind of meh, both kind of the same.
Yeah, I'm in the 5 range for both of those.
Not great.
This is issue 10?
Issue number 8.
8, okay. It feels like an issue number 10. It feels like we've been treading water doing nothing, and it's just a lot of stuff just way too convenient. I'm okay suspending my disbelief for comics, but when you just see glaring stuff just happening to happen, it starts to really bother me.
Internally, it should make more sense.
Yeah.
And stuff just kind of happens. This was set up to be a really big thing, and it just kind of goes away with, oh well, something new's going to happen now. But we do have one more story in this issue. This is Onryo by Daniel Warren Johnson. And that word, I'm not going to try to say again, is a Japanese word for a vengeful supernatural spirit. This story is set, quote, years ago. It's a tale of Logan in Japan, told from the point of view of a powerful, heartless warlord who has killed someone important to Wolverine. And this poor guy doesn't know yet what that means for him. And he finds out. Logan attacks the warlord's men, shrugs off a dozen arrows fired into him, keeps on coming like a zombie movie, right? Just no way to prevent Wolverine from slowly, methodically, coldly getting to his target, the warlord, and killing him. So when Logan's mission is complete, a villager urges him to, quote, release his swords and find peace. And Wolverine can't do that either metaphorically or literally, right? He's always going to be this killer, and his swords are physically part of him. So a pretty neat little metaphor, realized here by Daniel Warren Johnson. Not a lot to say about it. I found it simple but effective, really beautiful artwork. mostly told in a widescreen kind of movie type style. Daniel Warren Johnson's art often evokes kind of an Asian Japanese influence, so I think it works terrifically well here. Lovely and brutal. We get to see a horse get decapitated, which I don't think I've ever seen that happen before, and that's a hell of a thing. And captures a decent part of Wolverine's character, a perfectly good backup for an anniversary issue like this. If you want to get this book, which I think cost like $8, I don't think a 10-page cool-looking story is worth $8, but if you see it in a bargain bin somewhere, I think this is the reason to pick this issue up. Did you enjoy this bit as well?
I liked looking at it, but the story was sort of, again, nothing for me. But the art was cool. I like Daniel Warren Johnson's art.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I thought that just that metaphor of the warrior who can't put down his sword, I thought, oh yeah, I get it. That works for me. You found a little bit about Wolverine I never figured out before. So works for the anniversary issue. So how to score it? The Adamantine story didn't really get an ending. It just kind of stopped and went away. Kid Wendigo story, I thought that was a little bit better. Right? At least we get a wrap up. We don't know why Kid Wendigo gets cured, but he gets a happy ending. That's fine. The cliffhanger with the mom, we just saw this a week ago. Don't do it again. And I'm really tired of Logan's backstory just being endlessly undone and messed with. So despite that fun, nifty Daniel Warren Johnson backup, I can only give Wolverine number 8/number 400 a 5.8 out of 10. Not very good. How about you, Ruben?
I give it a big fuck you 5. I was not into this at all. It was 60 pages, and it made me more annoyed the more I read it. And I think the Daniel Warren Johnson story, probably is better than I'm giving it credit for, but by the time I got to it, I just started skimming it. I was like, I can't deal with this anymore.
Fair enough. When you're in a better mood, go back, read that story. I think again, it's nothing earth-shattering, but it's the kind of thing that belongs in a round number anniversary book, and I think it's pretty cool. But not worth $8, and not worth going through eight whole issues to get to. So that is our show for the week. Next week, we have a few more books coming up, as always. We have X-Men number 15. We have NYX number 10. Actually, I believe that one's been delayed a week, so maybe not that one. We have X-Force number 10/number 300, which will be the end of that series. And we have Magic number 4. So, Ruben, what of those books do you think you're kind of looking forward to? Which one of those books is going to make Rob Liefeld look like a big stinking liar? That no, the X Office has it totally together, and this is going to be like nipping at the heels of Absolute Batman any day now. Which of those titles are you most looking forward to?
Oh man, I'm not sure there is one that's going to rise to that level, but I'm interested in Magic. I always enjoy the art of that one.
Yeah, and X-Men has been fun. We're going to go back to where that, I forget that kid's name, but the kid who has the secret twin inside her that now is going to get her own body. I am curious to see how that plays out, and
that's a good point.
Maybe we'll find out if Quentin's alive or dead.
Yeah, I honestly, if you were to say all of these writers were getting replaced at this point, I'd be disappointed with McKay being pulled off.
Yeah, I think he's the best
he's
one
doing
currently
some
going.
Stories that I think are worth reading, and it's building up, and it feels like what I would expect from an X-Men story, paying off earlier details. But if the others, I think we could wash them.
If there weren't a whole X Office, if there was just that X-Men comic book, and that was the only X-Men thing going on, I think it would be one of the better books in the line. But just with all this other stuff happening around it, it's hard to look at it as just one story.
Yeah.
But we will look at it again next week. And Ruben, until that issue comes out, what can our fine Rob Liefeld fan and non-fan listeners do to fill up their week?
I read more X-Men comics.
Get ready, everyone, and you just might survive. Ruben and Jason are here with their X-Men deep dive.
Learned edition.
Going through all the X books is their mission, so get ready for the Learned edition. Things are getting weird in here. Ruben hopes another sword book gets announced this year.
I thought they
It's
smelled
the
bad.
weird dose of X, the X-Men
On the
comic
outside.
show. It's the weird dose of X, guaranteed. It's the weird dose of X, guaranteed not to blow.
Bing bong.
Except your mind. It's the weird dose.
When are we going to get another
of
Abigail
the
Brand
X-Men
issue?
comic show. It's the weird
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Dare to dream, Ruben. Dare to dream.
dose of X, guaranteed not to blow. Accept your mind.